Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council, navigating the human experience together.
Hafide, Tero, and welcome to your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry, and our guest today is the 2024 Governor's Humanities Award recipient as Outstanding Humanities Teacher in a Non-classroom Setting, Jonas Barcinas. Jonas, welcome. Happy New Year.
Buenas, Hafide. Happy New Year to you too and your family. Thank you for the opportunity.
Congrats on your award. How did you feel when you heard the news?
I was a little bit, I was happy and at the same time shy for the fact that, I'm the kind of person that I don't like to be recognized for the work that I do, but I want people to just appreciate the services, the work that I do for our community. Yeah. But I was later on I start feeling the excitement. Yeah.
Well, you're known as a kind of an advocate and a practitioner, of course, of a lot of indigenous Chamorro culture and heritage and language. All, I bet, kind of rooted in your early childhood in Rhoda. Tell us about that.
Well, thank you for that. Growing up in Rhoda, I speak Chamorro since I was, since I was born, all the way to 5th grade, I will say. And the reason why I say that is because when exchange students from Guam were coming to Rhoda every summer to spend their summer there, and we do that cultural exchange, I didn't know how to speak English. So I was a little bit ashamed and heartbroken in a way because I was unable to communicate with those kids from Guam. So we were doing a lot of sign language. I'll never forget that, And lucky that some of those kids were able to speak Chamorro. So we were connecting. And that prompted me to do better in school by reading a lot of those English books so that I can learn how to pronounce it. Back then they were teaching us oral language, just what do you call that? You standing up and a teacher just telling you what to do, and it was fun, but at the same time, I was still missing that. There's that link that I'm missing, is to be able to speak English. But now, going backwards, I was thankful and grateful for my mom and my dad, and my siblings for really, for speaking to me in Chamorro, in our vernacular. Because now I would not be able to lose it. I'm only building my English skills. And at the same time, I'm polishing my indigenous language, my Chamorro language, because there's some deep words that sometimes I don't understand because I hardly hear it. But living with my mom and my dad, they're individuals that really speak to us in a very appropriate language, deep language. It's not like something that an ordinary individual will speak to you, a lot of deep language, yeah.
I think that's one of the advantages of having grown up there is Rhoda is known as the island that was least impacted during all the different foreign administrations of the island. So people of Rhoda are kind of known to, be closest to the real thing or the old ways. What was it like when you moved off island and met Chamorros from the other islands?
Man, Ms. Kat, when I was excited to move to Guam because my auntie, my sister was asking me to go and go to school there. So it was my first flight to Guam, and when I came there, I met some of my cousins. So I was adapting and I was, just adjusting to, the way they speak, because even when I'm speaking, they would bully me and tease me like, oh, that's not how you pronounce it. And I get kind of like mad because that's how I learned it, right? Rhoda, right? Um, but then later on, as I start hearing and listening to the way my cousins, my aunties speak in English, I started to catch up. And that's when I went to Aguila Johnson, my first, what do you call it, junior high. I went to Aguila Johnson Middle School in Northern, you know, and that's how, there's some Rotanis that were there. So we would always speak Chamorro, but when it comes to, you know, being with our friends, we had to just kind of like tweak it around and say, hey, nangka, 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 you know, we need to speak in English because they won't be able to understand. And that's kind of like helped me to really build my you know, my English language skills. But still, the Chamorro is still rooted in me. That, you know, I was a little bit ashamed in the beginning. You know, because you know, nobody taught me to preserve and protect and whatnot. At that time,
it was like, why don't you speak English?
Exactly,
well?
exactly.
Yeah,
it's like,
yes.
I'm in the wrong place. And
Yeah.
could you believe that, you know, even just for the first introduction of the first day of school, when I hear, you know, the teacher say, okay, introduce yourself. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to introduce myself, right? But when I hear my classmates say, hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm the only child. Hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm the second child. Everybody's like 2, 3, 2, 3. And there's 12 siblings. I didn't know how to explain that. So I had to, I'm sorry to say this, but I had to, you know, just make it up by just saying I'm the only child in the family. To be, you know, I felt so guilty, but as a child, as a teenager, no one was there to guide me.
Yeah.
You know, until later on I start, you know, realizing how valuable being with a lot of family members and speaking the language, you know, being in the cultural performances and cultural group, that really also made me really understand, aside from being in the educational system.
So speaking of cultural dance groups, you had the good fortune to work with the late Frank Rubong. Tell us a little bit about him and what your involvement, how you came to be a part of his circle.
Thank you. When I was living in Guam, going to University of Guam, you know, I was very actively involved in volleyball, playing for the national team for Guam, trying out for, you know, playing in different tournaments. And I was always selected top 6, top 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but I never made it to number 1 because there's always this real 6-footer, you know, that would just jump up and pound the ball. So, but I was able to make it, you know, number 2 to 6. And from then on, I met Frank, you know, because he was in my team. And I said, hey, you know, when he took me to his group and I saw the dance group perform, I said, hey, Frank, I want to join your group. So from then on,
a Chamorro dance group.
Yes, it's Chamorro dance group, and it was the only Chamorro dance group at that time. So you know, I was very excited because growing up in Rhoda, I always joined different dance competition, and I win, right? But that doesn't tell me that I'm good. Nobody's telling me that I was a good dancer, entertainer. They would just say that I'm a very active person. You know, back then my name is Jones. Everybody in Rhoda knows me as Jones growing up until I graduated. During my college year, I realized that my name is really Jonas.
Wow.
Yeah, and I know some of my cousins and aunties will say that I changed my name, but I never changed. I just didn't know that it was Jonas. But yeah, Frank took me into his helm of, you know, being in his group. He taught me Tano Cultural Dance Group, the famous, you know, and it was the only Chamorro dance group that I've known, and actually that was in Guam at that time, from '83 all the way to present time. But having to be in the group, I learned the value of, you know, respect to one another, to work collaboratively to make the performance more meaningful and fun and exciting and entertaining for the community. We were learning Chamorro dances, ancient Chamorro dances, Batsu, Cha-Cha, Jitterbug. We did a big show for the Festback in 1988. The Kantan Tau Tau Tano, we did a big play, you know, at the University of Guam, fundraising for our trip to Townsville, Australia at that time.
Wow.
Yes, in 1988.
That's actually an incredibly interesting idea.
Yes.
Taking your dances and then making it into a play.
Yes,
okay.
yes. To make it more meaningful so that people would understand just what are we trying to convey and present to, the history, basically the history of the cinema or history of Guam, or whatever the play or the culture presentation. But yeah, I started dancing for Frank with a lot of the young kids. I think I was practically almost the oldest one there, and I was the only one that can speak Chamorro and Jack Tomakani. He was the fire knife dancer, and he's from Saipan, but he got into a car accident, and he's now not feeling, he's not well, but he was one of the best, and I commend him also. So we were the only ones speaking Chamorro. The rest of the dancers speak English. They don't really speak Chamorro. But now, when I met with them, they're all speaking Chamorro.
Wow.
I would speak to them in English, and they were speaking to me back in Chamorro. I'm like, whoa! I was kind of like freaking out, like, wow, he didn't speak to me in Chamorro back then. That was like many years ago, right? And then we did a lot of big productions. Because we were hired to dance dinner show at the Galaxy in Pacific Star Hotel. So that was my side pocket money. Going to University of Guam right after 6 o'clock, we go down and perform dinner show. And then after that, we go back to Manila, rehearse for different shows. We do a lot of performance around the island. Rota, Tinian, Saipan, we came and performed at the Flame Tree here, Fiesta in Rota, Fiesta in Tinian. So we went around the Marianas, and then Continental start spreading their wings, and they will come to Galaxy Pacific Star Hotel and work with Frank to identify individuals to do the inaugural flights. So during that time, I need to,
to welcome the flights when they come in at the airport.
Yes, and perform as well. Yeah. So they will come and watch our show, and they will identify, like, I want that person, that person,
really?
that person. Yeah,
wow.
It's not a freebie. So when Continental comes, everybody has to be, at their best.
On point.
Yes, on point. So I was very fortunate that I was getting a lot of those, travel to Sydney, Australia, Brisbane, Australia, Papua New Guinea, Bali, Korea. Those inaugural flights, I was able to travel and perform and what do you call that? Showcase our indigenous, who we are as indigenous Chamorros.
You were able to take your experience with Tautau Tonu and create something new when you came to Saipan.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Kat, my goal was, when I come back, I would just teach in my classroom, cultural arts, and hopefully when there's Christmas, cultural day, that my students will be the only one to present and perform, not realizing that I had to extend it out to the community. Because so a lot of my former students will come to me and say, Mr. Barcinas, can you help us with this group?
I still want to dance.
Yes, I still want to dance. I thought, once you're done 6th grade, boom, you're gone, right? But, to be honest...
so you actually planted the seed of inspiration for the kids.
I realized, too, that a lot of my former students that, danced with me in 6th grade, when they move out in the community or middle school or high school, they end up dancing for Miss Johnson, the late Miss Johnson, the Holomua, right? See, Holomua.
I better not. Forgive us.
Yes, but that's Ed Johnson. Yeah, Holomua. I think it's Holomua. But that dancing for Miss Johnson was also an opportunity to dance Polynesian. Just the love of the art is what I love doing. But a lot of my former students end up dancing with them, and they already know the basic fundamentals. So that's why when I go out there, I see them performing. I'm like, oh my God, that's a blessing for me, because I feel like they appreciate what I've provided for them and share with them. And yes, I hired the late Richard Duenas, Mr. Bully. And we started the Inatua's cultural dance group. We started that. Actually, I asked him to really create a group so that me and him, as a former Tautau Tonu or an ongoing Tautau Tonu, right, from Guam, we want to plant the seeds out there and help a lot of our young ones to really understand and value their own indigenous, our Chamorro indigenous language and culture.
And
through the performing arts.
do you feel you were able to achieve that?
Yes. You know, I know that two of us have traveled to Korea and all Japan and all over the place with LJ. Thank you, LJ and April, Rebecca and LJ Castro for really taking lead after Bully passed away. They were also able to, work together with Francis Sablon. We were the board, and we helped, in preparation for the competition, Chamorro competition also in Guam. So we had the Inatuas to go there and compete and place, top 3 and brought home some awards. Also, one of my former students, Jolene Villagomez, she also approached me to help her with her group to build the ISA dance group. ISA cultural dance group. So I was the one.
ISA means rainbow.
The rainbow.
Correct?
It's a beautiful rainbow.
Love that word.
And the meaning to the group is that there's a lot of kids coming from different ethnic background. So the beauty of the color of the beauty signifies the diversity of all of those kids.
Wow. Yeah. I am never going to hear that name again.
Okay, I know.
ISA dance group, to understand the meaning behind it, other than rainbow. That's powerful.
Yes. It's the diversity. Everybody come from different ethnic group. And then they perform together as one beautiful group. Yeah. And aside from just those group, also, Kat, being at Cobleville Elementary School now, I do help out as a vice principal. I do help out with CCLHS teachers.
Chamorro Carolinian Language Heritage Studies.
Yes. I was the former director.
Well, you're perfect to help with that.
Yeah, and I'm still helping. As a matter of fact, we're having our 4th annual state level competition on January 17 and 18 at Cobleville Elementary School.
Oh, great.
Yes, and I'm working closely with Merced Guerrero, De Leon Guerrero. She's now the Chamorro program manager, and Monica Pua, the Carolinian program manager. She was my curriculum writer before, and Merced was my former 2nd grade teacher at Dandan Elementary School at that time. So we're working closely to put this together. And the first place winner of all the categories, they will go to Guam and compete. The Chamorro students will go and compete at the University of Guam Chamorro language competition. And the Carolinian group that wins first place will be going to represent the CNMI at the Micronesian Island Fair. So we're giving both indigenous the opportunity to represent us, through performing arts.
And our local students, they usually, if I recall correctly, do quite well in the competition.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with you that whenever they go to Guam for the University of Guam Chamorro language competition.
Go ahead.
What do you call that? They work hard because, they understand the fact that, CNMI PSS is sending them, right? So of course they put together a good performance. They work closely with the students to make sure that the kids, the students value that learning. So that when they go, they're not just there to have fun, but to represent and at the same time enjoy, representing the CNMI, PSS, CCLHS. And in the end, they end up coming here with a lot of first place, winning first place, second and third. I think in the 2023, 2022, they came back with a lot of awards. So I was just very, I'm thankful that the kids, were able to do, well in the competition. And I applaud the teachers also for really, going beyond to, after school practice and practice and practice to make sure that they're on point and that they're ready for the competition. So a lot of activities, aside from just the classroom.
Well, when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about some other areas where you've been a teacher. Is that okay?
Sure.
All
Yes,
right.
yes. Thank you.
We'll be back after this break.
Looking for resources about Marianas history, culture, and more? Well, check out the Northern Marianas Humanities Council's collection. Our extensive video, audio, and photographic library can be found on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at 670 Humanities. Or check out the written resources on our website at nmhcouncil.org. And for those who prefer a good book, we also have a selection of local publications for purchase. So, dive in, explore, and share your comments as we navigate the human experience together.
Welcome back. Jonas, your son was on the set. Kenzo.
Sorry about that.
Well, one of your sons. How many kids do you have?
3.
3. All right. How do you convey your culture and your language to your children?
You know, being married to a Filipina, right? You know, now we have to make that decision on how are we going to be speaking to our kids. Because right now we just speak in English, but also I give her the opportunity to make sure that she speak to our children, our 3 children in Filipino Tagalog, and I do that also myself. I teach them Chamorro, you know, like, hey, sulit mo again na funny.
You must have some smart kids if they're learning 3 languages.
I hope so, yeah. But they're doing.
So Kenzo, that was
Kenzo,
here, he's
yeah.
going to be part of this competition we were talking about.
Yes,
he's so young. How old is he?
5 years old.
Okay.
He's 1st grade. So yes, I do get my kids involved at the school, you know, with the PGFC, the Chamorro competition that it's happening in Guam, at the University of Guam, and they'll be performing storytelling. But my daughter and my son would also be competing in the choir. So last year when we went to Guam for the competition, all 3 competed in the storytelling. My daughter Kaisiu won 1st place in her grade division, and my second son is my eldest son Khalil won 1st place in his division as well, and Kenzo won 3rd place in his division because he was like a little.
He was like
baby.
4.
Yeah, 4. Yeah.
Aww.
But you know, it's a lot of work. It's almost every night. You know, I try not to force them, but to do it like a game. You know, okay, when
like
we go,
a game.
yeah,
I like that.
okay, I'm gonna have you guys play Roblox, you know, but let's go over let's practice first before you know, because I want them to enjoy. I don't want it to be punitive. That, oh my God, my dad is just
Chamorro
again.
again.
Chamorro, yeah. You know, a lot of the kids sometimes they're like, wow, I only learned Chamorro when my parents are yelling at me or screaming at me, and that should not be the case. So we try to pacify it and make it more non-threatening, you know, and make it more meaningful. And they love it. They even, you know, love to learn about what do you call that? The history. So last year, our Cobleview Elementary School choir, where my daughter is in, they won 1st place in the choir division. Yeah. Category.
Congratulations, Dad, and congratulations to your daughter. You know, one of the other roles I think that people know you as is as a veteran. Congratulations, you're coming up on retirement.
Thank you, yes,
So
thank
exciting.
you, yes. Well, I've been in the military since 1995.
How do you find your culture plays into your service, if at all?
You know, to be honest, Kat, I feel like no matter where I go, no matter where I work, you know, when you're dealing with people, you are the culture. You are, you know, you are who you are that represents your own people. So I cannot just change and become an American because they will not understand who I am. So I always begin with saying that half a day, Tiro, I'm from the Marianas, next to Guam, remember atomic bomb and all? And they say, oh yes.
Dale, can't you say Marianas Trench next
to them?
I know.
Yeah, now probably I'm gonna say Marianas Trench, they know that, but you know, the atomic bomb, a lot of the military personnel, they know. Tinian. They you know, because you can see it even in a military compound, you can see the island of the CNMI and where the atomic bomb is carried. So yes, I do continue to carry that, you know, that my heritage, my culture, my language, and I teach them and they appreciate it. So, you know, when they hear all these stories, they said, man, I want to be stationed in Guam and closer to the Marianas. And I was even telling them that there's going to be a new military, you know, what do you call that?
Divert airfield?
Yeah, in Tinian. And I said, you know, they just they just love hearing about the paradise, the tranquil, you know, community, hospitable community, and that's who we are, you know. And I continue to convey that to our military personnel. So, and friends and families of the military, yes. So,
Well, congratulations again on your upcoming retirement. That'll be great.
Can't wait.
I really want to thank you for sharing today, and also really for your lifetime of teaching of the culture and the language. If you would have a message for the community or any final thoughts, what would you want to say?
You know, Kat, there's so many things that I can share to our community, but I think the best message that I would, share with our community, and hopefully I can inspire them to say, hey, be proud of who you are. You cannot change your color. No matter Chamorro, no matter who you are, whatever ethnic group, but for the Chamorro community, parents, speak to your children. Let them hear the beautiful language of our ancestors, our mother tongue. Because if they don't, eventually they're going to start feeling guilty, and later on they're going to start wanting to learn, but it's going to be too late in a way for them. But it's never too late to learn. That's why we need to continue to be proactive, be positive out there, and speak the language. Because, you can't, I know we're under the U.S., what do you call that? Under the U.S. umbrella for almost 80 years now, 77, 78, 79. And just look at the changes. I will say 90-some% of our students within the public school system, even in Rhoda, even in Tinian, because I used to travel with the Office of Curriculum and Instruction, and especially my island, when I just say, hey, afamolika toring, afazi, that just hurt me, because wow, the generation, they just don't speak it at all. So, manyanahu, manyeluhu, familia todo, kwentusi fa magunmizo gi molik na manera, fanagwi ne esti bonito zangguagua na lenguajita. Izotestigi, and we're the generation that if we're gone, then this new generation will be just researching for the language, and we don't want that to happen. We want them to be able to articulate it out. So let's join hands together and as Marianas and continue to share the language to our young generation, but in a nice way, because all I'm hearing is like, I only hear it from my mom when they're yelling at me because they cannot say the bad words, right? So they only say it in a negative manners, and that's why some tend to not want to learn it. But I'm so glad with the CCLHS program that kids are coming back to join the Chamorro program, the Chamorro events, so that, because they want to learn. And I know a lot of high school students and college students are wanting to learn the language. So, they're at that age that they're understanding the value. And I think the little kids, it goes from one ear to another, and they just continue to do the same thing, right? So I think it's our responsibility, the whole entire CNMI community's responsibility is, let's join hands and continue to share this beautiful language. Like the tourism, like my wave, tourism is everyone's business. Our Chamorro language and our Karelian language is everyone's business. Let's make it work for all of us.
Can you help me say thank you for sharing today in Chamorro?
Oh, ngungan. Si Zeus maasi ne un nai no esta na oportunidad para un nai mensaje. Mensahe siya para toda la comunidad. No, right?
Jonas!
Yeah, kulanan ako, no? But just say, si Jesus masi ne information, tempon mo,
zani sininten mo, how do you say service?
Servicio.
Jonas, si Jesus masi.
Bonito. How lucky, you're just like, you're one person that I just admire so much when you convey all the beautiful, when you're at different events and everything, and when you're talking about, hopefully the people are also feeling it, because, I just love it when you stand there and just tell everyone, not just tell everyone, but when you're saying things out for people to just, use our language. It's just very, 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 very powerful. Jesus mo siloke, nesta na oportunidad.
Esta otro umbiay.
Right?
Did I say that correctly? Until again.
Bonito. Esta otro biyay talo. Dyan, afazilingan no, Viva Año Nuevo, no?
Yes, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Para todos, adios.
Our guest today has been Jonas Barcinas. He's the 2024 recipient of the Governor's Humanities Award for Outstanding Humanities Teacher in a Non-classroom Setting. This has been your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
Your Humanities Half Hour has been made possible in part by a major grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Democracy demands wisdom. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities. For more information or to share your thoughts, contact the Northern Marianas Humanities Council at nmhcouncil.org or on social media at 670 Humanities. That's 670 Humanities.